Thank you very much once again. Let me welcome you back to this channel. Ensure that you are hitting the subscription button and ensure that you are sharing to those who are concerned. And then today we are going to anticipate in a continuation question. Remember that before we have had the content coverage based on fluvial process. So in this case, we are going to look at the river profile which is given. We can see that we are given a figure 5.1 below. So they say in figure 5.1, which shows fluvial features and give one term for each of the statement below. Remember that when you are talking about a river system, you must be able to explain to us very well how the river catchment or how the river is dense in terms of absorbing water from precipitation. So the first key concept that you need to understand, it is the term precipitation. So we are saying, as geographers, anything that falls from the sky, it is indeed precipitation. And when this precipitation happens, we are saying that it goes directly to what we say is a catchment area. So what is a catchment area? This is the source of the river where the water from the precipitation are going to go through the catchment area so that our rivers can have the density of water. Then in the first concept, or the first concept that we must look at, it is a watershed. You can see number one, watershed. So watershed separates, it does what? It separates the two basins. We've got basins A and basin B in this case. So the watershed is responsible for separating these basins. And then after this water is caught in the catchment area in number two, we are having what we call a runoff area. What is a runoff? So we are saying that the runoff is the movement of the water from the high potential value to the low potential value. And it is influenced by what we call a gradient. So the steeper the gradient is, the more runoff will take place. But the gentle the gradient is, the less runoff will happen. That will promote what we call the saturation or the infiltration of the water. Number four, we are having the interfluve, and interfluve, it also separates now these basins. And number five, we are having the seasonal river. So the seasonal river here, we are saying this river, it only has water capacity in only rainy seasons. But in a dry season, this seasonal river cannot have the density of water in between. Then number six, we are having the coinfluence. The coinfluence, it is this part. And you can see number six, coinfluence. It is when two or more tributaries come together. Remember that tributaries, they join at an acute angle. So we can see that the movement of the river, it is from the western side to the eastern side. Because of the interfluve, the tributaries are facing in the western side. So we are saying that the coinfluence is very important because of that is where the two tributaries join. I hope that one is very clear. Then we move on again to number seven. Number seven, we have what we call water table. So water table is all the water that is found on top of the river. That is on top, that is a water table. Number eight, we are having groundwater. Groundwater, we are saying due to the porous particles of landscapes that are created. Therefore, we are saying water that cannot run off, it would go underground. So we are saying this water, when it moves underground due to the permeable, porous soil or particles, there would be water that would go under the ground, and it is called the groundwater. Number 9, we are having the through flow. So the through flow is the movement of water that is underground. Number 10, we are having the key concept that is called the infiltration. So remember that the infiltration goes in opposite with what we call the runoff. We are saying that the less the steep, the lesser the gradient is in terms of being gentle, the more infiltration will take place. Even if you are having crops on the either side, we are saying crops and vegetable agricultural practices will increase the formation of an infiltration. Number 11, we talk about the perennial river. We are saying this river, it has a water only when it rains. All right. Then moving on to the questions that we are given in 5.1.1. The statement is given to say water that flows on the surface of the rain after it rains. It is called the surface runoff. Remember, when it rains, there is water that would be flowing and it would flow on top. That is why we are saying that is a surface runoff. In 5.1.2, the high-lying area that separates two rivers in the same drainage basin, that is what we call a watershed. Can you please go to our sketch and see the watershed? Remember, I've just explained to you to say the watershed, it separates now these two areas in between. And then in moving on, we are to see that we have 5.1.3, which is water that is found below the earth's surface. And I've told you that that is called the groundwater. Can we go to the sketch and see exactly very well? So this is the labeling that I've made, number 8 on it, the groundwater. So this is the water that is underground due to the soil particles or landscapes that are porous. In moving on, 5.1.4, we are saying river that flows throughout the year. So the way it flows throughout the year, it means that this particular river has got water even if it does not rain. During dry condition, you find a permanent river having the flow of water. In 5.1.5, the upper level of groundwater is called the water table. Remember, I've told you that the water table, it is water that is found in the upper level. We can prove that by seeing the sketch, which is detailed in number 7. So you can see that number 7, it is a water table. This represents the water that is on top now of the landscape. Moving on, we are seeing that we go to a question 5.1.6, meeting places of two rivers, that is a confluence. The word co, it means two or more are working together to obtain a function which must be executed. So we are saying that we can see that when these two rivers meet, they increase the density of water. Can we go to the sketch now and actually see exactly very well? So we are saying when these two rivers meet at this particular point, number 6, there would be a high density of water flowing through the main river. All right. And then moving on, we've got a 5.1.7, soaking of water into the ground. That is called infiltration. We are saying that the water would infiltrate in the ground, because of now, if ever there is an absence of vegetation, there is a infiltration that is going to take place. So we are saying that when we are moving in 5.1.8, the movement of water through the soil to the river, that is the base flow. So we are saying through the soil to the river, then that is called the base flow. And then you have your marks. All right. Then I would want us again to move to the other question, which needs now our attention. They say in this figure 5.2 illustrate the main feature of the drainage basin. Study the diagram and answer the question. So you can see this is the picture that is presented, but we will not dwell much on it because of it is not much more visible. But we are saying that when we are moving to the question in 5.2.1, in this case, they say define the term drainage basin. Can you remember it? Yes, I hope you can remember it. What is a drainage basin? For 2 marks. Then we need also to give our answer. So a drainage basin in 5.2.1, that is a total area drained by a river and its tributaries. And we say that the more tributaries are, the more the river is in this particular case. So we are saying that the more tributaries are, the more the river would contain its water. All right. Then we move on again to the other question. In this case, that is 5.2.2. So they are saying in 5.2.2, explain the difference between the watershed and the interfluve. Remember, I've told you very well what is watershed and what is an interfluve. So we are being asked here to give the differences. Remember, when we are giving the differences, you are explaining to us their characteristics. 5.2.2, the watershed, it separates 2 drainage basins. While the interfluve, it separates the 2 streams. Can we please not forget that in our examination? All right. Then we are moving on to 5.2.3. 5.2.3. So we can see that we are having the question, what major factor influence the type of river that exists? That is 5.2.3. What is the major factor that influence the type of the river that exists? And obviously, that is what is a precipitation, is the water that is being received. So we are saying the higher the precipitation is, the denser the river will be. So that is directly proportional. So our answer in this case, it is 5.2.3, precipitation. Anything that falls from the sky. All right. 5.2.4. How will the urban environment affect the rate at which runoff occurs? Remember, in the urban environment, we are having artificial buildings. So we are saying that in the urban environment, there should be more runoff because of we've got tar roads, we've got artificial buildings, we've got absence of vegetation. So those alone, they put a clear picture to us that in an urban area, there is more runoff and there is less infiltration. So we can see, so they say, there are artificial surface, there are no vegetation to increase infiltration. And then I can see that we are having those answers. But I want us again to go to 5.2.4. So 5.2.4. So in 5.2.4, they say, how will the urban environment rate affect the rate at which the runoff occurs in 5.2.4. So 5.2.4, we are saying build up area will promote high runoff. And the reasons are that there are artificial surfaces, there are no vegetation cover to increase infiltration. I hope that is a very well presented to you. All right. Then I would want us to move again to our last question in 5.2.6, and it reads as follows. Due to human activities, please take note, there are activities that we are doing as people on our environment. Either we are protecting, conserving our environment, or we are destroying based on the activities that we are doing. And then we are saying the natural balance that exists within a river system has been disturbed, and natural catchment area have been degraded. So because of we are taking out the garbage everywhere, and that garbage is going straight to our areas of water, and then we are seeing that our catchment area become blocked because of these activities that we are doing. Then the question says, write a paragraph of approximately 8 lines on the negative impact that human activities have on the drainage basin. So in simple terms, what is it that we do negatively which would affect our drainage basin? All right. Remember, we are littering everywhere, and that needs to stop. We are saying 5.2.6, inadequate sewage collection and treatment are sources of water pollution. So the keyword is inadequate. So something when it's inadequate, it means that it's not sufficient, it's not enough. The municipality is not doing that particular service, rendering the services to the people. Number 2, cutting down trees does not give enough time for water to infiltrate and to be purified by the groundwater. There is always runoff. The other factor, the use of chemicals such as fertilizers, pesticides, or insecticides, runoff in the water, as well as the livestock excrement, manure, and methane, they produce the greenhouse effect. The other factor would be of a huge amount of the industrial waste is drained in fresh water, which then flows into the canals, river, and eventually to the sea. And lastly, garbage such as plastic, paper, aluminium, food, glass, or rubber are deposited into the sea. So the key word there is deposited. So something that is deposited is something that is unwanted. It goes directly to the sea and it has a negative impact. All right. And then that was the last question in this case. But I would want us to move again to our last structure, and then we explain properly. So this is a map work application, the topograph. 5.3, they say, refer to the extract from the topographic map and answer the questions that follow. So we are saying we've got places here. Place A, B, C, D, E, and F. All right. So they say in 5.3.1, the area at A represents the river system or the drainage basin. So we go to A. Is this a river system or a drainage basin? Then we need to answer that. The answer is a drainage basin. Why a drainage basin? Because of there is a flow of water from point A to C. From this point A to C. Then in moving on, in 5.3.2, they say differentiate between high-lying area B and C. So we want these high-lying areas. Can you go and watch them? We are having B, a high-lying area, and then we are having C, a high-lying area. So what needs to be taught here and to be explained? It is those high-lying areas. So we are saying number B is a watershed because of it separates now the drainage basin. And then number C is an interfluve. All right. And then in moving on to our answers, to our questions, then they say in 5.3.3, refer to D. There can we go see number D. This is number D, and the movement is in northwesternly. Then they say number A, in which direction does the main stream flow? And then you need to provide two reasons for your answer. So in which direction is in easterly, northeasterly? And then we are saying, why is that the point? It is because of the tributaries, they join the mainstream in an easterly direction. And the contour lines points towards the opposite direction of flow. And then that is the answer. So we can see that the flow here, it is going in northeasterly. So that is why we are saying easterly, because of the tributaries are joining at that place. And then in moving on to the last question, 5.3.4, at which point E or F are the chances of flooding higher? Motivate your choice. Can you please go to E? So here is number E, and the flowing is on the easterly. And then number F is northeasterly. And then we go to the question. Once again, they say at which point E or F are the choices of flooding higher? Motivate your choice. So which one is going to flood? That is number F. And why we are saying F? The confluence has more water joining the stream. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for tuning on at MATRIC+NATED Specialist. Ensure that you are hitting the subscription button and you are sharing to those who are concerned. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that is well presented and questions can be asked on our comment section. Thank you very much.